Welcome back. Today, we're going to be printing color in the dark. That's right, I'm going to show you how to use RA-4 chemistry to make color prints of your own. So stick around and let's dive in.
Hey, and welcome back. So today we're going to do some color darkroom. It should be really interesting. Okay, so when you're working in the color darkroom, for any of you who have done black and white printing before, you know that there's a lot of trial and error that kind of goes with it. Thankfully, color paper is actually pretty inexpensive because you go through a lot of it. There's a lot of subtle variations when you do your prints. So there's actually three things that are of the utmost importance to have in the color darkroom. So the first one is a pen. But in all seriousness, I have this here. It's called the analog book. And the analog book lets you keep track of exactly what you did when you printed. So for instance, this particular print that I did was from my project at Joppa Farm. I have the date, I have what type of chemistry I'm using, what type of paper I'm using. So he's using Fuji paper and Arista RA-4 chemicals. I have the frame number, and then so you see we have the CMY values for each of the filters. So you can see the cyan on this one was 0, magenta was 45, and yellow was 28. And I know that this one was F11, 3 seconds, and I have a really good idea of what I need. So if I need to reproduce that print and want it to look the same, then I know I can load it up, load these values, and get the same print out of it. So the notebook and the pen are absolutely essential. The third thing that you need for color darkroom, you can do this without, but I don't recommend it. So these are called viewing filters. And what you do is after you do your test print, this helps you adjust your color balance. So let's say, for instance, that I made a print and it was too magenta. So what I'll do is I'll hold this up. This is a magenta filter, and I will hold it in front of the paper, and you can see the varying intensities. And what we do is we kind of whip it in front, just like that. And once the print looks the way we want it to look, then we know there are instructions that tell me if I use the 20 filter, then what I'll do, or the 10 filter, I will subtract 10 magenta. Alternatively, I can add 10 yellow and add 10 cyan. And these are all just the knobs on the front of the enlarger, which I'll show you in just a second. Today I've got some of the Orwo NC500 that I shot the other week. And what we're gonna do is go into the dark, put it on the enlarger, and see what comes out. We'll see if we can make a nice print out of something. So let's take a look at the negatives and see what we've got. Okay, here at the light table, we've got the complete negative sleeve. You can see I always catalog my negatives in a particular way, and that helps me be able to find pretty much whatever I need. So these were shot in Portsmouth, New Hampshire on New Year's Day. And I used my Mamiya M, that was my automatic camera, and this is Orwo NC500. So let's take a look through the negatives and see if there's any that stand out that I might want to make a print of. Okay, so I've got this narrowed down to two. The first one is this here, the Lady of the Sea statue. And the other one is this interesting Pellegrino sign. This was in downtown Portsmouth. It was an advertisement for Pellegrino orange. And I think that might be the one. So before we even go to the enlarger, what we're gonna do is take the loop and make sure that we've actually got good focus and that these images look like something that we can actually print. So let's take a look at this with the loop. Yeah, some good detail in there. And let's check the other. So another one that I think will be really good. I don't know, maybe we'll do both. So let's go into the darkroom and see what we can do.
Inside the actual darkroom, I had a little trouble with my camera and didn't have any audio, so I have to record it now. So this is the enlarger. It's a Saunders D6700. You can see the negative carrier is right here. This is the 35mm. And for the color adjustments, we have the wheels on each side. And this adjusts the filtration of the cyan, the magenta, and the yellow. For this process, we're going to be using what's called a quick easel. This is an 8x10. You tape it to the base of the enlarger, and you end up getting perfect borders every time. Over at the chemistry, we're pouring in our developer. Since our process will be at room temperature, we're going to develop our paper for 3 minutes and 30 seconds each time. And of course our Blix. Each print will receive 1 minute and 30 seconds of Blix. So these are the two main chemicals that are going to actually develop the color image onto our paper. So even though we're in the dark, this section is not light sensitive. We're just in the dark to actually aid in the framing and focus of the images.
Now with 35mm, remember the aspect ratio is different than 8x10. So we want to make sure that the entire frame is framed. Otherwise, we will end up with more white space than we want on the paper. That's a good rough estimate. I'll take some painter's tape. Got that roughed in. So now we'll get critical focus with this grain scope. And it's important to not focus on the image, but to focus on the grain. Because if your image is slightly out of focus, only the grain will actually tell you if you got it right. There we go. Focused on the grain. Just tape down. Now we're ready to do some testing. Because it's fairly dark, I'm going to run 4 seconds at a time. Okay. 1. 2.
So after going completely dark, developing for 3.5 minutes, and blitzing for 1.5 minutes, we have our first test strip. You can see those colors don't look great. So examining them, we're really just trying to determine the exposure time and not so much the colors. We'll worry about that later. So after the first print, this is where we take a look and really try and determine what our colors look like. You can see this is extremely cyan, and the oranges really don't pop out the way we want them to. So we try again after making some adjustments. You can see this is much less cyan, and the greens are actually starting to come out a little bit.
Okay, this is not bad. Again, this is a low contrast type of film. But look at this, we've got color. The blue in that label is really great. Bricks actually look like bricks. I'm pretty happy with that. And if you compare it to where we started, look how ugly that was. Night and day. So we'll hang this guy up. And if we're right, we should be able to take another negative, use the same settings, and get a very similar result. So let's do that. Oh wow, this is going to be interesting. Wow. Wow. So it's kind of cool once you get an emulsion down and you get your color balance right in the head. These tones look actually really great. So this is the same exact exposure and color balance as the last negative that we did, and I'm totally pleased with this. I'm not even going to print it again. Okay, so we've written everything down into the notebook. So everything from the color filtration to the CMY values. We have our exposure time, our height, a little tough to see there, our height on the enlarger, the aperture of the enlarger lens today, Nikkor 50mm f2.8.
I really hope you enjoyed seeing the color darkroom process. This is so much fun for me, and I hope you got to learn something today. Until next time, I'm Photo Prendy. Keep shooting and be excellent to each other.